Hey guys, Tiffany with another video, and as you guys saw in the title, this is going to be all about my top 5 eyeshadow palettes of 2016. I know most people did the whole 2016 favorites. I didn't do that. I had a plan of doing it. I was going to do it with my nieces. We were going to do it at Christmas time, but we just never got around to filming it. But I still wanted to bring you guys this video because I get asked a lot of times like what are some of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. So I just wanted to bring you guys the top 5 of 2016, the top palettes that like really stood out to me. I still may do the top 2016, but we're already towards the end of January and I feel like maybe it's a little too late. I don't know. If you guys still want to see it, definitely let me know down below in the comment section. But again, I at least wanted to show you guys some of my favorite eyeshadow palettes for the year because I feel like 2016 was the year of highlighters and eyeshadow palettes. Like every time you turn around, we were getting a new eyeshadow palette. Every time you turn around, we were getting a new highlighter. So I at least wanted to bring you guys a little piece of my favorites. So let's get started. So these are definitely not really in any particular type of order, but I don't know. I would say hands down, this was probably my favorite release of 2016. It is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. I watched a lot of 2016 favorites and I know pretty much everybody had this in their favorites. But for me, there was definitely a reason for that because these shades are just gorgeous. I'm a fan of Anastasia Beverly Hills. I do have majority of her palettes, especially like the limited edition palettes. I'm really happy to say that this is a permanent palette. I know it sold out really quickly, but as of lately, I've been seeing this stocked up, especially in Ulta. So you can get your hands on it if you weren't able to before. The colors in here are colors that are right up my alley. You guys know, no matter how many times y'all preach that I need to do some more color, I am just a neutral girl and I'm a warm toned girl to my core. I'm just not going to change on that. But these colors just speak to my heart. I feel like if I was ever going to do a palette, this is the type of palette I would do, but of course y'all know I would throw a black in there. I feel like no palette is complete without a black. I definitely feel like this is one of those palettes where you don't really have to bring in another palette. Even though it doesn't have a black, like you're still able to work with like this brown shade right here. It's a really deep brown. I love it. I use this palette so much when I got it. Like I promise it was in like every favorites video. I know y'all was sick of me, but this definitely was one of my favorite releases of 2016. So this next palette is a limited edition palette. I hate bringing you guys limited edition stuff, especially if you can't get your hands on it again, but because these are just my favorites, I definitely have to roll with it. This was the Makeup Geek and Manny MUA palette. They actually just did a restock of this not too long, like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was the last restock of it or maybe if they'll bring it back out again. But here are what the shades look like on the inside. Oh my goodness, I love this. This is one of the palettes that I used on my eyes today. I just used these 2 shades right here to basically just deepen up my outer corner. But the colors in here are gorgeous. I'm a fan of Makeup Geek eyeshadows. You guys hear me talk about Makeup Geek shadows all the time. So I think the collaboration was a really good one. I love the color selection that they came up with. And I just can't stress enough this shade right here. Like the fact that they put one of my favorite pigments, Insomnia, into a pressed form, that alone was a 10 for me with this palette. But really everything in this palette works. I think if you can get your hands on this at any point without spending $100, let me tell you, if somebody's charging you $100 on eBay for this palette, don't do it. But if they ever restock it and you can get your hands on it, this is one that you want in your collection. Absolutely gorgeous. So this next palette, if you guys have been rocking with me for a while, you know I talked about this palette quite a bit in my channel in 2016. This is the Tarte Tartelette in Bloom palette. This is the second one. They came out with a original one, and that one to me, it was a really pretty palette. That pretty is not a word. It was a really pretty palette. I really did like that one, but I felt like the colors pulled a little bit more on the cool tone. There were a lot more like purples in there, lavendery type of purples, and I thought it was a pretty palette, but it just wasn't something that I reach for on a regular basis. And I think I sold that one in a blog sale. But then they came out with the Tartelette in Bloom. This one does have like warmer shades. That's what it looks like on the inside. Oh my goodness. This is like an everyday type of palette. I was reaching for this palette on such a consistent basis. I put a dent in a lot of these shadows. This is the other palette that I used on my eyes today. I love them. I love the matte shades. I love the shimmer shades. This is a palette I can take with me when I travel. Again, there is not necessarily a black in here. They do have some really deep browns, but there's not a black. But I feel like the browns do such a good job that I don't really miss the black. And again, you guys know how I am about them blacks and palettes, but I love this. Every time I go out of town, I make sure to have this, even if I don't have anything else. It's just an amazing palette. It's permanent. If you don't have it, get it. You won't be disappointed. I love it. This next palette, oh my goodness, hands down the best affordable eyeshadow palette ever. I know I've raved about it. I know I talked about it. I don't think I'll ever stop talking about this palette. This is the Natasha Kay Perfect 23 eyeshadow palette. Here's how it looks. I picked this up like earlier in the year last year, and again, y'all have heard me rave about this. Like, the colors in here are stunning. They're all matte shades. Again, I can appreciate a good all matte palette because I feel like the older I get, I don't always want shimmer on my eyes. Sometimes I just want to do a really nice eye look, let my lip do the talking and just go about my business. But I love the warm tone shades in here. These are great all over lid shades. These are great transition shades. This is a palette that you can use pretty much in conjunction with any palette. Like, you wouldn't need any other transition shades, in my opinion, especially for us women of color. But then you also have these really fun pops of color in there. They're your smokier type of colors. You got your highlight underbrow colors right here. Like, what is not to love about this? But what I really love, affordable, $4.99, $4.99, $4.99. Let me say it again. You are getting all this greatness for $5. You cannot beat it. And recently I've seen a lot of people were saying that this palette is a dupe for the Kylie Jenner original palette. I don't know what it was called, but the first palette that she came out with, this was a dupe for it. I don't have that palette. I can't compare it. I can't tell you, but I know I've seen a lot of videos where people were saying this was a dupe for that palette. But I love it. I can't stress enough. Stop sleeping on the beauty supply store makeup. You guys are missing out on some gems because this one is awesome. And then the final palette is another limited edition. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I love it. What can I say? This is the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette. Here is what the packaging looks like. And then on the inside, here are the colors. And I know you guys are like, dang Tiff, like you really like all the same shades. But I would not apologize for liking what I like. I know what colors work for me and what colors just speak to my little heart. So this happens to be one of them. I love these like cranberry, marsala wine type shades. These are my jam. Again, I think you have some really great transition shades. You have some all over lid shades. You can definitely do like a 2-color look with this palette with so many of the shades. This was just an amazing palette. This was my first kind of peek into the Violet Voss eyeshadow world. I think since then they've came out with more collaborations. They did one with Laura Lee. They had like a metals eyeshadow palette, and then they just released another palette which I did get. I'm still waiting for it to arrive. It does seem like it's taking forever. That's one thing I don't like about Violet Voss. The shipping just takes crazy long, but I cannot wait to get my hands on that. I'll definitely bring you guys a video when it arrives. But I do really love them, and because I love these shades so much, I feel like I'm going to love those. The consistency of the eyeshadows, it kind of puts you in the mind of the Morphe eyeshadows, but I do really love the Morphe palettes that I have, because I know someone has asked me how do these eyeshadows compare. They do put me in the mind of the Morphe shadows. They have some really great pigmentation, and yeah, I love it. I love it. And I know I said 5, so if you guys have been counting, that was definitely 5, but I have an honorable mention for 2016. I cannot not talk about this palette in this video. It came out towards the end of the year, so that's why I want to stick it in there for the 2016 favorites. You guys probably already know the Colored Raine Queen of Hearts palette. Oh my goodness, I have not had this palette long, but the time that I've had it, I'm so in love with this. Really quickly, just to show you guys how it looks on the inside, I did a whole video. I did swatches and all that other good stuff. I'm sorry, my lighting is going in and out. It's raining here and it's gloomy, so I definitely can tell how the lighting is fading in and out. But here's how it looks. Gorgeous. You have mattes, you have shimmers. this is, you guys are going to be seeing this a lot here in 2017, like I already know, because since getting it, I have been using it non-stop. I've did quite a few looks with it, and it's just a gorgeous palette. So I had to throw that in there as an honorable mention. I didn't have that one as long as I've had the other palettes, but because they did sneak it in at the last minute in 2016, they pulled a Beyonce with this one. I love it. Alright guys, so that is it for my 2016 top 5 favorite eyeshadow palettes. Again, I know I didn't bring you guys like the full 2016 favorites, but if it's not too late and you guys still want to see it, let me know that down below. Let me know what were some of your favorite eyeshadow palettes for the year. Again, I feel like every time you turn around, we were just hit with like palette after palette after palette. So there were some really good ones out there, but if I could only pick 5, these are definitely the 5 that I would rock with. So let me know whatever it is you guys want to tell me down below in the comment section, and until next time. Bye, YouTube.